Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this week's episode of Roundabout Sports. I'm Jeremy Karp. Thank you so much for tuning in wherever you may be listening on this beautiful, well, what am I talking about? It's raining outside. On this Wednesday evening, at least here in the St. Louis area. So tonight I'm really excited. First off, this is the 10th episode of Roundabout Sports. And I was talking to our guest earlier before the show started, and he told me it was like he felt like it was just a couple weeks ago we started this show. And honestly, he's absolutely right. Like, it is crazy. And soon this will actually be the last episode here in this location. I wanted to make it clear we're not stopping anytime soon. This is just the last episode sit like here at this location. But yeah, I'm excited. So yeah, we got a lot to talk about. And for those wondering who our guest is going to be, it is the voice of Dynamo Pro Wrestling, the one, the only Chris Roedel. And he has been in the business for so long. I am so excited to have him on the show. He's a dear friend, he's a great guy, and it's going to be great. And he's going to delve into more than just, his wrestling. He's going to talk about why his all-time favorite sports team is actually the Kansas City Royals. No, I'm kidding. He can get two craps like It was definitely a great pleasure to have those who participated. So thank you so much. We gave away 4 tickets and a parking pass to the Kansas City Royals game tonight, I should say, against the Minnesota Twins. So thank you to everybody who participated. We had a couple things situated. So we got a couple pieces of big sporting news to have to reveal. The first one is that wide receiver / honestly running back Deebo Samuel was requested a trade from the San Francisco 49ers. And this is a big move because he is the focal point, along with George Kittle, of the San Francisco offense. Now, some of the teams that are interested in him include the New York Jets, the Detroit Lions, possibly the Green Bay Packers. I mean, it would seem like a proper fit considering Devontae Adams is no longer on the team. But one team that is not interested and could use the speed that he brings to the table is the Kansas City Chiefs. Multiple sources have confirmed the Chiefs are not looking into it, despite dealing wide receiver Tyreek Hill to the Miami Dolphins just a couple of weeks ago. So it'll be interesting to see where the Kansas City Chiefs go from here. Meanwhile, we also have talked about things that have gone on in WWE lately. And one of them is about how basically Alexa Bliss is one of the top merchandise sellers in WWE, but she has not been seen on television for months. Now, she did recently get married, and congratulations to her. But other than that, they just say they don't have a creative direction for her, which I think is terrible. You got one of the top stars, and you have no direction on where she can even go. Like, come on. What is that all about? Also, here's one. This is a big one, and I'm going to say it because it's 420, folks. So, for those that blaze up, keep on blazing. Anyway, WWE will no longer be punishing talent for using marijuana. It's being reported that superstars who would usually be punished, suspended, or fined if they tested positive for marijuana will not be getting that same type of punishment as they used to. Now, they will still probably be testing for it, but no longer will get fined for it. And I think one of the biggest notable instances of this was when Rob Van Dam had been punished during his ECW championship run in the early mid 2000s while using marijuana. And nobody thought that was a really big deal except for WWE. What was the big deal was the cocaine that was being used and everything, but that's a different story. Nevertheless, So there's a big thing for your happy 420 day. Also, Randy Orton is also selling a RK Bro t-shirt on 420. And anybody that knows Matt Riddle knows he is big on the whole 420. But now for a little bit of St. Louis news. Or I'm sorry, Missouri sports news. We can't just go straight into St. Louis. Although the Cardinals did win 5-1 last night against the Miami Marlins. Meanwhile, Albert Pujols is still worn out from having to run all the way from first base to home. Give him props, though. He scored. He made it. Didn't even have to slide. But don't expect him to compete in the Olympics in the 100-meter dash anytime soon. With that said, meanwhile, in Kansas City, the Royals had a big comeback victory against the Twins last night. Salvador Perez hit 2 home runs, his 14th career multi-home run game, and his second already this season. Meanwhile, Bobby Witt Jr., who is definitely, in my opinion, the top rookie in Major League Baseball, has had quite of a slide lately, unfortunately. His average has dropped to 139, but I mean, there's still well over 150 games to go this season. A lot of room for improvement. But other than that, Royals do got a decent team. They're in the middle of the hunt for the American League Central in the early goings of the 2022 season. It's just the starting pitching, which in St. Louis seems to be the big issue as well. When you look at their main concern, it seems to be the starting rotation. And ironically enough, the 2 guys, or at least 1 guy in each rotation that isn't the issue, is the oldest of the bunch. Adam Wainwright for the Cardinals and Zach Greinke for the Kansas City Royals. Go figure. But hey, sometimes when it comes to how well a player performs, they're proving that age is just a number. Meanwhile, the St. Louis Blues did fall last night to the Boston Bruins 3-2. But you know what? We're the ones with the cup against them, so who gives a crap? Speaking of Blues, you know what? I got to get him on. I'm telling you, because he is one of the biggest Blues fans that I know. But on top of that, he is the longtime voice of Dynamo Pro Wrestling. Anybody that's ever been to a Dynamo Pro event has seen him there. They've heard his voice. And I almost wanted to present him with a sympathy card live on air for the crap he has to deal with from guys such as Dick Douglas, who will also be at the Concordia Turner's Gymnasium this Saturday night, so April 23rd. And we got a lot to talk about with that show, but I'm going to bring him on. Ladies and gentlemen, the voice of Dynamo Pro Wrestling, the one, the only, Chris Roedel.
Carp, how's it going, man? How you doing?
It's good, Chris. How are you, buddy?
Oh, just living the dream. Got AEW on the TV over here,
Awesome. So
the Blues last night, let's just chalk that up. They looked a little lethargic, but I think that might have been because that was their 4th game in 6 days. I mean, that's I guess you really shouldn't say that's an excuse. They're athletes, but I mean, they're just like everybody else. They get kind of tired too. And the back and forth, they were on the road and they came back home and now they got to go back on the road. They're going to the West Coast, Arizona and San Jose and Colorado. I think the Blues only have 1 more home game left, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
and they gave out and I thought it was a quality troll move that they handed out. The stadium giveaway last night was the replica 2019 Stanley Cup rings.
Yes, it was the ultimate troll on the side of the Blues. I loved every second of it.
And they've held that promotion for quite a while. They've held that because of the COVID year, they were going to have it, I believe, at the end of like 2020 or something, but the end of the 2020 season. But they obviously, because of COVID, they couldn't do it. So it was a great troll move, and I just love watching Brad Marchand cry. So
yeah, I think that's an image that everybody in St. Louis will definitely enjoy for quite a while.
Yeah.
Speaking of Oh, go ahead.
No, but I was just going to say I'm not that worried. I mean, we got two pretty good goaltenders going right now. So I mean, even when they played bad, they still didn't play. They didn't play awful. They just looked like they were tired. So
Yeah, it just kind of seemed, not as in it. So speaking of crying, I heard last night on the Wrestle Talk podcast that Dick Douglas was trying to enter the Keon Option Memorial Battle Royal this Saturday night.
actually, wasn't he crying because he wasn't on the poster?
Yeah, you know what? You're absolutely right. He was crying because he wasn't on the poster, and he said everybody else in the city was.
Well,
Which
I mean,
totally
that's
not true.
That's not true. I'm not on the poster.
I'm not either.
I'm not going to enter the Keon Option. I'm not going up against the big guy. But this show this Saturday is going to be really special. I don't know how much interaction you had with Keon coming to shows. I don't remember when you exactly came in, but this is the second annual Keon Option Memorial Battle Royal show. We were going to do it originally in 2020, the 1 year after his passing. Obviously, the world decided it wanted to go crazy for most of 2020. So our first show back from the pandemic was the Keon Option Battle Royal, which is a progressive style battle royal. This year we're going to throw in a little twist and turn. It's going to be the progressive, like the Royal Rumble style battle royal, but at the end, the final two are going to compete in a match. So it's going to be kind of like, I guess, the Impact Wrestling's Gauntlet for the Gold, as I believe is what they call those matches.
Yes.
But we're not calling it. It's the Keon Option Battle Royal, and the winner is going to become the new D1 champion. So I mean, it's going to be great. We're gonna honor him. I think they're planning, I believe, something before the show, maybe to honor him. But Keon Option was a really super great dude. Just full of positivity, just fun to be around, athletic, just crazy athletic. Him and Justin Dier did some things. They teamed with Mike Outlaw a couple times in six-man. I almost said trios because I'm so used to AEW now. But yeah, it's six-man matches, and I've seen Keon do things that I didn't think anybody could. And I mean, I believe he graduated from Mizzou as well. So he is a tried and true Missouri guy. It really is all, and he was in the Missouri National Guard. So it was tragic. It was sad. I remember getting the message that day from Jim, and just utter shock. Way too young. He was only 30 when he passed. So
yeah, I had the pleasure of watching Keon wrestle multiple times because I started going to Dynamo Pro shows around 2015, I believe, because I remember you guys were still doing shows at the Stratford.
I love that place. I love that. That was a great place to have it. But the Concordia Turner's Hall is really good too. So
Concordia Turner's definitely is a very historic place in St. Louis, and I think it's fitting to have a very old school style of wrestling there.
Little history lesson. That is where I saw my first ever independent wrestling show for Missouri. It was at the Concordia Turner's Hall. Another group ran it way back in like the 90s, and that was my first ever slice into independent wrestling.
And what was the promotion you happened to see?
I want to say it was CSWA or something Central States.
Okay.
Frank ran it. The main event was I want to say it was Johnny and Billy D versus Johnny and Bobby D, actually, I think it was, versus Kevin and Steve Sharp, who later became Kevin X, and then Steve Sharp became Bishop Stevens and has done movies and stuff like that. So, but it was a long time ago, and I just remembered going back in there, and I believe I saw the Human Wrecking Ball Pete Madden on that show, and so it was great.
Awesome. So the first independent wrestling show for me, it was either because because I've gone to so many different ones. I've been to the Madison Square Garden in St. Peter's.
Mm-hmm.
I've been to the Stratford, went to the Stratford shows. Been all the way down in. I remember my friends Evan, and Doug and Blake and I. We went to Columbia. You guys had a show out in Columbia. I remember Ricky Cruz was there,
yeah,
and Outcast. That was back when I was writing for Art City Media. And so that's definitely a throwback. It's been
I
years.
can't even remember the play. It was like I believe it was a country bar that we were at.
Yeah, it was.
And it wasn't a bad spot.
I actually liked the facility. It was actually a really cool place, a good style. But honestly, yeah, I was gonna say I've been going to Dynamo shows for about 5 or 6 years. No, 6 or 7 years. And yeah, I remember seeing Keon Option at some of them, and he was just one amazing wrestler. And I'm sure I could easily ask anybody in the locker room that had the pleasure of knowing him, whether it be one of the talent, wrestlers in the ring, or it's just, somebody like yourself or Luke Roberts off the screen. And, they'll tell you what type the amazing guy that Keon was.
Yeah, you couldn't find a better guy. He was always there to brighten your day. He didn't ever get too upset about anything. He's just like everyone's so like running around. It's like let's just calm down a little bit, And so it's gonna be a great show. We got more on that show. It's the Keon Option Memorial. It's you can get your tickets at Dynamo Pro Wrestling.bigcartel.com. Save yourself a few bucks, $10 in advance, 15-day a show at the door. Kids 12 and under are $5 all the tickets. So it's gonna be great. I'm looking forward to Camaro Jackson defending the Dynamo Pro Heavyweight Championship against one of the no role models, ATM. That's going to be an interesting match for the simple fact Camaro asked for this match. Camaro wants to give people that haven't gotten match. This is another thing that Dick was complaining about last night. Camaro Jackson wants to give title shots to people that haven't had title, that might not get a title shot. So ATM is first up on the list. So
I mean, that's a hell of a challenger to have. You do not want to cross ATM the wrong way. Now, here's another interesting match that we're going to have Saturday night. The woman Dynamo Pro Women's Champion, Reign Victoria, is going up against Blair Onyx, I believe.
Yes, the spider.
The spider.
Yes,
yeah.
She does that. Bray Wyatt, that walk back on her hand. I know the walk back on her hands and knees thing. I just. I'm not sure. And Reign Victoria has been the only women's. We haven't had any other women's champions. I mean, I realized that we lost a year and something with the pandemic, and but she won the title in Grafton at one of the Riot on the River shows. She beat Savannah Stone. She beat Savannah Stone and Tootie.
So here's my question for you. When you talk about it being locked down, because every wrestling promotion was affected by the pandemic and everything. So one question that's been discussed a lot by a lot of people is the length of a title reign in the lockdown. So, Adrian Surge, for example, is the former Dynamo Pro champion. And Reign Victoria is the current Dynamo Pro Women's Champion. But a lot of those reigns, like the days, did come during a time where wrestling was very sparse, and there was not as many title defenses. And it's not a knock against their talent, because both you and I know, both on a personal level and on a business level, how amazing Adrian Surge and Reign Victoria are in the ring. And they're just two examples here, because obviously you got Camaro Jackson as the D1 champion. Don't forget the Arch City Mercenaries as the tag team champions. But do you think that the days of the lockdown should still count towards the title reign of the wrestler?
I mean, I'm kind of torn on it. I don't know, because I don't know if you want to limit the number of days, because then that maybe ruins what people think of the wrestler. But then again, it's not our fault that we couldn't run shows. That we were at a time they weren't doing indoor events in the county, in the city. So it affected the training down at the dojo. They could only have so many people in the dojo at one time, so they had to split training times up. So
Yeah.
it was a weird time. I think the pandemic era of wrestling made people reset. Maybe you kind of do a hard reset on things. And I mean, you're always going to remember the time that WrestleMania was at the Performance Center. I mean, with no fans. You're going to remember the Thunderdome with the people on the screens. You're going to remember AEW being at Daly's Place the entire time. I just feel that you're gonna remember this era. I don't know how fondly you'll remember this era, but I think you're still gonna remember it. I mean, there's not much you can do about it. You move on.
Right. And because, some reigns would go well at or near 1,000 days, because I don't think some people realize how long the pandemic's truly been. I mean, because it's not just, we're talking 2020 to near the end of 2021. This is
and technically we're
technically still in it to an extent.
We're still in it. I mean, things are opening up and people are trying to live their lives now. I mean, I know with my mom's in a nursing home now, but at the beginning of the pandemic, she was at home. I mean, she didn't really go anywhere. I didn't go anywhere, but I don't know if I could imagine the nursing home people, the people in the nursing homes. You work in a nursing home, so you might be able to.
It was like Fort Knox at the peak of this whole thing. I mean, nobody could step in. We had the N95s. I mean, we literally were so locked down. It was unbelievable. You were lucky if you could see outside, let alone go outside.
Right, you had to be lucky enough to have a room that had where you could, in an accessible area to where, because I know right now where my mom is, it wouldn't have been accessible because it wasn't on the outside ring of the building. She's on more of the inside ring, so she gets to look out at the courtyard, but she doesn't get, and I don't know what those people were. I mean, I don't know how more. I mean. And nursing homes were like ground zero for a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
And when she moved in, we had to make appointments, and we were given 30 minutes. When she was in the rehab place, they upped it to 45. Still had to make an appointment, and only 2 people could go see her per week. Or only two visits with 2 people, with a maximum of 2 people. Now it's not. You still have to punch in, and you still have to get your temperature taken. You still have to wear the mask when you're in there, but it's not as restrictive. You don't need to. I don't need to call up and make an appointment every week. Maybe we'll go back to that. I hope not, but I don't know. It just was. I could just tell it was tough, and you probably dealt with it more working in a nursing home during that time. So.
Yeah, I'm definitely glad. I mean, obviously, I'm glad we're not where we were in the middle of 2020, because that was it was heartbreaking to watch, because you see these residents who literally, it's like they're torn away from their families because they can't come in and see them. The families can't come in. We used to do window visits. We'd have a resident go to the window at the front of the building, and the family would just wave to him outside. And, some of them would cry. And it gets emotional just thinking about it.
Right.
But we're thankful that things are starting to open back up. And, I remember the past few Dynamo shows, there's been a really good crowds out there at Concordia. And speaking of shows that always get great crowds when it comes to wrestling, I mean, let's not forget about Cinco de Mayo in Soulard.
Oh yes, God, I can't wait. This is one of my favorite shows. I know you probably been there as a fan.
I've been there multiple times
in the crowd, probably drinking a margarita, eating some tacos, and
love it.
Street corn. But no, I mean it. I've only done a couple of them, and because I, for some reason, had prior commitments on other times that they've done it.
Right.
So Luke filled in for it. It's Saturday, May 7th at the at the corner, about the corner of Cherokee and Jefferson was where it starts. Yep. They go all the way down pretty much down Cherokee Street, a couple of the side streets. It's just lined with taco trucks and lucha masks and everything. We put a wrestling ring right in the middle of the street. We'll probably be off to the one side street. It's like the first side street as you turn down, if you would turn down Cherokee, and the people just filter around the ring. They watch wrestling. We're gonna have several shows that day. I believe it starts at noon. It is an early show, so we do have to get up a little early and drink a little coffee and get the ring set up.
And we got to be there at like 9 or 10. Otherwise, we're gonna be walking a few blocks to get to the game place.
Right, because you can't, because they won't let you. They won't let you drive down Cherokee Street because there's thousands of people there. I mean, it's a great time. It's a fun atmosphere, and I just hoping for a really nice day because if it's a nice day and it's not too hot, it's not too cold, it'll make it. And there's no rain. We don't want any rain. So I remember one of the best times I had, we did a taco festival at Ballpark Village. And it was a Saturday, and it was the day of the Blues Stanley Cup parade.
Oh God.
We were downtown at the Stanley Cup during the Stanley Cup parade. I had to park at Busch Stadium, at one of the Busch Stadium lots, because I couldn't get any closer because, you know, that was a great atmosphere. It rained it rained a little bit in the morning, and then it turned out to be a really warm day, and Luke was our only referee that day. So he did like 15 matches and just pouring. After the show, he's just pouring. He's sitting in the locker or the tent that we had, pouring down sweat, just like, I don't want to move.
Yeah, that's something, honestly, Luke would say. I mean, and you and I know him. He's a dear personal friend. He's definitely one of the biggest workhorses and probably one of the most underappreciated people in the professional wrestling industry.
Didn't complain about it at all. Didn't just went about it and said there's nothing else we can do about it. I'll complain about it after the show's over with. So
this show that we're doing right now would not be here if it were not for Luke Roberts. The Wrestle Talk wouldn't be where it is without Luke Roberts. And you know, the amount of impact he's had on our lives as well as so many others. You'll hear guys in the Dynamo Pro locker room, for example, who take his advice, who consult with him, trying to see how they can do better, because he's been in the business 35 years. I mean, he's a wealth of knowledge.
He pretty much single-handedly formed a media department. When we were getting ready to do one of the charity shows, we had Santana Garrett come in. Her dad helped us put on the show, and he made it determined. He's like, I'm reaching out to as many different media people as we can. We were on Fox 2. We were on different radio stations. They put a ring in the Fox 2 parking lot. They had to be down there first thing in the morning to, you know, they put a ring in and I believe Ricky Cruz was down there. It was Luke has been around for a while and deserves everything he gets in this business. He should be in all of the Hall of Fames in Midwest independent wrestling. So,
like, it without a doubt. Now, for you being in, you mentioned about like with you with Dynamo Pro, and I do call you constantly the voice of Dynamo Pro Wrestling because you are a fixture there. You're somebody that we always see, you know, and Luke will always give you the big introduction right before the first match starts. How did that begin for you? How did the journey for Chris Roedel begin in professional wrestling?
Well, this is kind of a two-part story. So, back in the late 90s, I was dating someone, and she knew a professional wrestler, and we would go to their shows at occasions here in Lime, for the Mississippi Valley Wrestling Alliance. I got to know some of the people there. I started writing, like, sending in results for them for their newsletter that they did, and explain what they did. And then I eventually moved on. I became a commentator. I did play-by-play. I did, I worked with Tim Miller, Steve Murphy. I've worked with Ace Steel, has been sitting next to me. So it's it's really cool. And then MVWA kind of went to this period where I didn't know what I was doing, and I was just I would be at the shows, I would get paid, I would be getting paid, but I wouldn't be really doing anything. And then I ended up getting my announcer's license, and so I became, because we lost our ring announcer, and I'm like, okay, that's when announcers needed licenses. That stopped recently before the pandemic. Ring announcers needed license to be in the ring, so it wasn't expensive or anything. It was like $20. And actually, when I renewed my license for Dynamo, it came with its old number. So I have like one of the only 4-digit numbers. Everyone else has like these 2010, number. I'm like, I got like, I think my number was like 7135 or something. I don't know. It was a low number. But became a ring announcer. Then I worked, was doing for other companies. I had interest in becoming a referee. And so I did a little bit of the training. Didn't really have a whole lot of training. There were no real schools back then. It was just kind of learn as you go type thing. Did some shows as a referee. Had a falling out with the one promoter, and I just said, I'm tired of politics. I'm done. I don't want to deal with this anymore. Fast forward to years ago. I can't remember the year exactly. I was invited to an IHW show. Over in, I think it was Dupo. It was in one of those small towns, and they were looking for an announcer. Didn't have a spot for me on that show or the next show. Wanted to try me out with a microphone, and then I got hired in by IHW. Luke at the time I hadn't seen Luke in years. Hadn't seen Luke in years. We started talking again. We became. It was like we never stopped talking, it was like one of those things. Is like we became real close friends again. He was doing the general manager thing, I was doing the announcer thing, and he was also working as an announcer for Dynamo. And I started going to the Dynamo shows. I would then he asked if I wanted to sit ringside to like help with maybe a little bit of security and stuff like that. Fun fact: first show that I was, someone tried to jump the guardrail.
Ooh.
And I'm like, okay, this is how this is going to work. And then I got to know Jim and Crystal more. And we would do the ring announcement. Yeah, I would do the bell ringing thing and just be there. It's kind of help security. So we were running over at the Sports Academy over in Glen Carbon, which is a really cool venue too. And then in January, they needed an announcer for another show. Ben Simon was at Ben Simon was doing things with Dynamo as well as other companies, but he was working, I believe he was working SICW at the time. He was working SICW at the time, and there was another independent company that was running the random show that they needed an announcer for, and Jim was rented the ring to them, so he was like, would you be interested in doing it? I'm like, yeah, that's fine. I can do it. I can pay the license. It just hadn't changed much. Only now, instead of every year, it was every 2 years. They decided to push it to 2 years. And then the January show in years ago. Terrible snowstorm. It was what we called it the Polar Vortex of Doom show.
Oh boy,
that was my first official show as ring announcer, and I haven't really looked back since. I've missed a couple shows for various weddings and family stuff, but I try not to miss a whole lot of shows. Because I really do like what I do, and everyone seems to enjoy what I do. So, because I think they know that they're gonna get what I'm not flashy. I don't, I try to bring a little bit of entertainment. Maybe that's the DJ side of me, is like to entertain people. But it's just I know what I'm doing, and they know that if they change a gimmick or something, that all they gotta do is come up and tell me, and and I'll do it. So, and I've worked for Dynamo. I haven't really done anything outside of there. I did one MMWA show. I've done two MMWA shows. One in Arnold, when they did a one off there, at one of the places, not the Eagles Club where we run now, but and then I did the January show because their new ring announcer was ill, and they asked me if I wanted to come in and work it, and everyone's been asking me to come back, but that's neither here nor there. I don't play politics like that anymore.
right?
The politics in wrestling are still there. Companies want to just undercut everybody. Not badly. I mean, Dynamo is a great company to work for. Jim and Crystal, Sadie, they run it top notch. I'm so happy I found Dynamo as kind of a home base for me. That I tell everyone, if they want to book me, Dynamo is always going to be my home base. I can't not be at a Dynamo show unless family issues,
Right. And I'm thankful of all the promotions that I was blessed to get this start at. It is at Dynamo. I've known Jim for many years. And, Crystal just cares so much about everything that goes on, the ins and outs of the show. It's not just caring about what goes on in the ring, it cares about what's going on with all the fans, make sure everybody, is well taken care of. I mean, she just has such a great heart with that.
And she's got your back. If something happens, she's got
Yes. Oh my God. Loyalty is like number one for her.
Yes. And she is probably one of the strongest people that I've known. With all she's dealing with health issues. We do the Walk MS every year. It's for her. The last 2 years have been virtual because they weren't doing major things. This year was the first year I was mad at myself because I had booked myself into the family event that same day because I completely forgot that the walk was coming. I knew it was coming up, but I didn't realize it was that week. So I basically double booked myself. I'm like, I'm sorry. I sent her a message. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I feel so bad about missing the event. I did raise some money for them. So a couple people did donate to me on my page, but I felt so bad. And it was such a nice day outside too. It was beautiful outside. So yeah, it's just Dynamo's like a family. We have our differences at times. People kind of argue, but it's a respectful,
We all just want what's best, basically,
right.
At the end of the day. Now, you've had some interesting encounters. So, especially when you're outside, you're in the ring and you're the guy that's standing in there while the two competitors come out, or sometimes obviously more than two competitors. You're the one that's right there. And we've caught, you getting some interesting interactions with some wrestlers.
Yes.
And
yes.
So
they like to abuse the people that they know that they're tougher than and they can beat up. So
yeah, and while I'm on the hunt for it, because I do know it exists, just kind of go in depth on the craziest encounter you've had with the wrestler in the ring.
Well, one encounter, that I don't know if you remember the wrestler, it was a masked wrestler that came into our Shroy Senshi. Shroy. Shiroi Senshi. He chased me around the ring several times. The Snitch obviously is a pain in my backside. He has threatened me. Thank God for Outcast being there. I've had wrestlers just kind of walk around me as I'm like. Remember one time I think it was in East St. Louis. Casey Carrington was like I'm announcing him for a title match, and he is just walking around me. And I went up to him afterwards. And I'm like, why were you walking around me? He's like, I wanted to see if he'd break. I mean, so it's good. Sometimes you have to be quick on your feet because matches sometimes start a little early and a little hot. So
oh yeah,
and trust me, I won't be in the ring during the battle royal at all because I've known better that if it's a battle royal, you just let people come out and you don't get in the ring. So
right, and so you're probably about to get a message, but disregard it for just 1 second because I'm going to do my best to pull this up on the screen. You had mentioned the Snitch, and this is where I'm like, okay, here's one of your favorites. So while it's uploading, so there's kind of the picture. I know it's hard to see, but the Snitch is literally, and look at that beefy guy on the left having to film it. this was down at the Arnold Eagles Club, and after the Snitch had lost the match, what does he do? He comes right at you. Now, what have you done, Chris, to draw the ire of the Snitch?
Well, it goes back to when he first started. Whenever he first came in, I believe his first match was in Alton at a club in Alton. He was the Snitch, and being someone like just to keep his identity, he announces himself from an undisclosed location, and he started the whole thing with just wanting me to tell the fans not to take pictures of him. Okay. Take pictures or recordings of him. You know how well that worked out.
Yeah.
So it would then become that he would start doing these speeches, about basically putting down everything about Dynamo, and it really got bad at one of the forehand shows. It was one of the final ones we did outdoors at the actual brewery and not down at the SBAC. We did it, and it was a battle royal. Winner was going to get a title shot. Snitch doing what the Snitch does, hides for most of the match. Brandon Aarons, I believe at the time, or Snitch came in and eliminated somebody. I can't remember who Brandon Aarons had gone to the outside, but didn't go through the ropes, or went through the ropes, didn't go over the top rope. So obviously, we know battle royals. Battle royal, you got to go over the top rope. Over the top rope, both feet hit the floor. That didn't happen. So Brandon Aarons, Snitch thought he won, was on the second rope. Brandon Aarons dumped him out. So this is the antithesis of the Dynamo Pro screw job. And it's because he hasn't got his title shot for, I don't know, we're going on as many days as you could think of. And he was doing his speeches. Apparently I wasn't getting his message across. Oh. So now I don't get the pleasure of doing his speeches anymore. And he's holding me pretty much personally responsible for him not getting a title shot when I have absolutely zero to do with title matches at Dynamo Pro.
I was going to say, you don't have the leverage, nor do I, nor do anyone, to give the Snitch the title match that we don't want to see, and that's him in the title picture.
And now you've seen at one of our shows, it was CJ Shine versus Camaro Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
It was our return. It was our 2022 return to the Concordia Turners Hall.
Right.
Snitch causes the disqualification. you seen at the last show, he, for no reason that he was mad that he didn't get the title shot on that show, attacked Tommy Davis after his match with Moses. So I don't know what we're going to experience. I'm guessing according to the graphic that Dick Douglas isn't on, the Snitch is in the Keon Option Battle Royal.
Because Battle Royals go so well with him.
Well, I mean, he'll hide half the time.
Yeah.
But and I will say Keon Option and the Snitch had some really good matches. I mean, they have had really good matches. So Snitch being in it, I know it would mean it's going to mean a lot for him to be in there, because it took a lot out of the locker room whenever Keon passed. So you'll see a little bit more energy from the people that have been there long term, and new Keon, like Big Vic and Ricky Rodriguez. And you can go into the Dynamo, you can just type in on YouTube Dynamo Pro Keon Option tribute video, that and you could just see the wrestlers that were talking about him. Camaro talked about him. Mike Outlaw talked about him, because Mike Outlaw was kind of coming up at the same time in the Dynamo Pro dojo as Keon and Justin Dier. So the Snitch is going to get his title shot if he just waits in line. I mean, he's can't jump the line. I mean, he has had a title shot. He had a title shot versus Reign Victoria. I mean, and it really was a great match. It was a great match. I mean, he wanted a title shot. He demanded a title shot, wasn't leaving. And Crystal said, okay, you can have a title shot, and it's for Reign Victoria's title. So, I mean,
and I think we know the result of that. Well, then remember at South Broadway, the Snitch did win a battle royal, and he wouldn't leave the ring until he got his title shot. And what ended up happening is Adrian Surge proceeded to shove a donut down his face,
right,
and leave him. And what happened? He was left lying in the ring, and he's trying to get out. Who are the two guys that are just trying to kind of get him moving a little bit? You and I.
Mm-hmm.
And he just pushes us aside.
Right.
And he's getting in our face, and like, wow. So
now the Snitch he won the second Ride on the River tournament. He did win that one. Did not compete in the third one. He was announced, but then pulled out of the tournament. So he says he was taken out of the tournament and wasn't asked to be there. But I was there. Me and Dick Douglas did the announcements for the entries, and he was one of the top ones that we did. So I mean, he lives in his own little world. Hopefully, maybe he'll win the D1 title, and maybe that'll. But I think his ultimate goal is Camaro Jackson or whoever holds the WWE championship at that time.
You mean the Dynamo Pro Championship?
Yeah, Dynamo Pro Championship.
I'm not gonna lie though, I would love if Camaro Jackson won the WWE Championship. I'm just gonna say it right now.
That is true. I don't know.
I would love.
I don't know why I have someone else at one of my other IM conversations is having conversation about WWE. So I think that's what I had on my mind. Now, just to let you know that the big announcement from Tony Khan happened a little bit ago. It is a New Japan Pro Wrestling and AEW Forbidden Door show in Chicago. So
wow.
Jay White was there. It's going to be June 26th at the United Center, apparently. So mark your calendars for that if you're a New Japan fan. It looks like the tickets are going to go on sale Friday, May the 6th at AEWTix.com. So, which basically takes you to Ticketmaster. So
I was going to say that's usually the big lead in.
But yes, they're going to be at the United Center. That was Tony Khan's big announcement. So that's what that was.
So here's another thing for with the Keon Option Memorial Battle Royal.
Mm-hmm.
Who in your opinion is the biggest name to watch? Because remember, it's a big battle royal. Everyone's involved. And who do you think's the biggest? And I'll give you mine. But who do you think's the biggest guy to watch, the biggest sleeper in this matchup?
Biggest sleeper?
Yeah.
Tommy Davis.
Ooh.
Tommy
Okay.
Davis. Everyone is sleeping on Tommy Davis right now. Tommy Davis is really, really good. I mean, he's gonna have a good showing, I think. I don't think he's gonna win it because I think if I was putting money on it, I would put money on either CJ Shine or Benjamin Trust. And Ben Trust can become Benny Four Belts because he holds three other championships. He just won the MMWA title. He's got a title in PWE. He's got a title in WPW. So he's becoming the Matt Cardona of St. Louis wrestling.
Yeah, my biggest sleeper. So Ben Trust is one of the guys I think that you cannot overlook. He's definitely one of my favorites to call matches for. Very charismatic, and the kids love him. The kids absolutely love him, and he reciprocates that. But to me, honestly, Big Vic. I think Big Vic is a name to really watch in this battle royal.
It's gonna take a lot of people to get him over the top rope.
Yeah, and I also don't think that. Yeah, I just think Big Vic is going to be that guy. It's not just because it's going to take a lot of people, but at the same time, I mean, for a guy that is, a heavyweight wrestler his size, he's extremely durable and has a lot of stamina. So he's not someone that will wear down easy.
And he's even more determined after he was out for a while with a very serious injury that they weren't sure that he was going to be able to wrestle again,
Yeah, we thought it was career ending, honestly. Right. We really were. And
Big Vic Battle Royal story, which ties into the Cinco de Mayo show. One of my favorite moments of the Cinco de Mayo show is that we did a Battle Royal. And in the Battle Royal was Savannah, Tootie, and Reign Victoria.
Oh, no.
All three of them.
Oh, no.
No, this is good. All three of them eliminated Big Vic from the Battle Royal, and the crowd absolutely went nuts.
That's great. And that's the type of thing that I would have an absolute blast calling, behind the commentary table. Those types of moments, because you got three extremely talented female wrestlers eliminating Big Vic, and yeah, it's like with Beth Phoenix when she eliminated the Great Khali, the pop that she got in the Royal Rumble. So it's just one of those things, and yeah, those are those moments that
that's one moment at the Battle Royal, the Cinco de Mayo show that sticks out. But we got a busy time though in Dynamo Pro Wrestling. We got like 4 shows in like 6 weeks. We got the Keon this week. We've got Cinco de Mayo on the 7th. We've got the Slams and Jams.
Let's not forget about Slams and Jams with the arch rival Roller Derby team.
The Arch Row. They've got 2 great names because they're doing 2 team names. That's the Rock and Wheel Express and the New Wheeled Order. So they're tailoring it to wrestling, and we're gonna do a second Jams and Slams 2 this year. So we'll be having Slams and Jams 2 and 3, and they're format shows after they do their thing. And I believe you were at the first.
I was at the first one. And this is what's actually kind of cool. You watched Luke had sent out a while back a Dynamo Pro promo video about the company. Mm-hmm. I actually had a front row seat for that event, and
Surgeon Camaro. It was Haley Shadows and Rain.
I had actually interviewed. This was back when I did either I don't know if this was when I did the I-70 Sport. I think this was when I just did the I-70 Sports podcast before Interstate 70 Sports Media became what it is, and I had interviewed both Adrian Surge and Camaro Jackson. Mm-hmm. Ahead of that, because that was a big match. I mean, obviously the one recently where they had the title match. And meanwhile, back then that was a big matchup then, just as it is now. Like, because those to me are 2 of my best. I'm just gonna be honest. two of my best friends in the business and two of the best damn wrestlers in the business. That's
You
how I'm
can't.
going to leave it.
Camaro's got this infectious energy about him. He just does. But when it comes time to it, he'll throw you around. He'll throw someone around the
Or
ring,
just hold you up in the air for like 30
you
seconds.
up. Yeah, I mean, you saw him when he was here. Whenever when he did his dark match with for AEW Dark, you saw him do a squat suplex. So I mean, dude is built, and if he's not a star, if he's not in like a major company within the next 2 years, it's a crime. It's a legit crime.
And that's the way you come into where it's like it's hard because you love guys like Amir Jackson, Adrian Surge, Mike Outlaw, all these guys, the Arch City Mercenaries, and you want them to have the best opportunities that they could possibly ever get. You want them to reach that top, the biggest mark they can possibly get to. But at the same time, it just hurts when they leave because you've grown so close to them, because like you've mentioned, how close-knit the Dynamo Pro locker room is. It is like a family, we all look out for each other and just want what's best for, everyone around us and the fans. And most of that includes just making sure Dick Douglas doesn't do another promo.
Well, yeah, I mean, apparently he's threatening one.
He's going to do one on Saturday. He says he's going to be there. He's going to be he's going to be speaking to the masses, as he likes to put it. And he says he's going to win that Keon Option Memorial Battle Royal.
Well, I guess if he's in it, he's not on the poster. So I mean,
I want to know what it takes to get in it. I'm going in. No, I'll be the less heavy Drew Carey in this Battle Royal scenario. Right. I will try to bribe Camaro Jackson. Like, here's a 50. Please don't kill me.
Yeah, I could
don't
see
kill me in the ring.
I could see you in the ring, Jeremy, and then all of a sudden Vic's music hits, and you're like,
That's when I'm out.
Yeah, I'm gone.
I've stepped. Look, this is how I look at it. I stepped into the ring. Mo's open for Luke. Keeps, for some reason, I don't know why, Luke keeps saying the snitch has been calling me out, and I'm like, he's got his hands full with you. Now all of a sudden he's coming after me. It's just the guys that aren't in the ring that are the ones he's after the most. That's what I've learned.
I don't know, but no, it's going to be a great time.
It's going to be fantastic,
and we've got, and at the end of the month we're back at Arnold Eagles Club again. So I mean,
Ricky Cruz is going to be there. Literally one of the best wrestlers I've ever had the pleasure of seeing. Ricky Cruz.
Yeah, I could sit under Ricky Cruz's learning tree so many times. I mean, there's just been so many times where we just sat back and talked about wrestling and talked about his time when he was in Puerto Rico, and talked about having a match with Savio Vega, and all these other wrestlers. His first match was against Super Crazy, and that match we had in Illinois, the Glen Carbon, on a return show from the pandemic. So it's great. I think St. Louis wrestling is thriving right now. You got so many options to choose from. So
I do got one funny Ricky Cruz story. This was a few shows ago in Arnold at the Eagles Club, and the fans were, and Ricky Cruz is from Puerto Rico.
Mm-hmm.
But you know where I'm going. The fans were chanting USA, USA, and Ricky, being the guy that he is telling them, you do realize Puerto Rico is part of the USA, right? So you're not doing anything wrong to me by chanting USA.
Right. I mean, it is Arnold, so I mean, I don't know. But
I was going to say, hey, if they can name all 50 states, good on them. So. But no, Dynamo Pro is going to be busy, and MMWA, Glory Pro, Anarchy in St. Louis. And also, shout out to Kansas City, because they are finally starting to become more of a wrestling city. There is a lot. I think one of the More notable ones is Extreme Wrestling. That's in Raytown, Missouri. Then there's
there's
there used to be Metro Pro
right.
Wrestling, but
Renee works for a company. He's going to be the Spanish broadcasting
yes, and
commentator.
shout out to our friend, the Night Owl Renee Martinez of the Wrestle Talk podcast, a dear friend of ours, and feel better soon. But was why he wasn't on last night's edition of the Wrestle Talk podcast. But yes, he's going to be doing Spanish commentary, something he's wanting to work on doing a lot more of, and honestly, he's a great fit for it. Uh-oh. Are they after you for something?
No. I live off the main drive. I live off the main Lime Ferry Road, and the fire trucks and the ambulances go up and down all the time. So I kind of tune it out. I don't hear it. So
I was gonna say, kind of used. It could be worse. It could be like if you were in like Chicago, for example, and you're living right next to the L tracks, the L train. Like, oh, I couldn't do that. But no, I'm very excited for just the upcoming slew. And like I said, shout out to Renee. He's going to be doing a great job with the Spanish commentary. And it's funny, one of the first times I got to meet him in person was at a Dynamo Pro show. I was already making guest appearances as on the Wrestle Talk podcast. Back in like 2016 and whatnot, when you guys would do the shows still down in Soulard.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember meeting Joe and Renee there. And I remember this is one of the proudest things for me. There was these two ladies there, and I never met them before. Never met them, never knew they existed. I didn't even think they knew I existed. And they come up to me and they say, "Are you the host of the Jeremy Karp show?" And I'm just like, "Oh yeah." And I was like, "It's really nice to meet you." And it just blew my mind that, I could get that type of, I guess, just acknowledgement.
Right.
And because it's just because we love doing what we do. I know you love doing what you do, and I love doing, what I'm doing, whether it be at Dynamo Pro or just, here with Interstate 70 Sports Media, or, at working at the nursing home, helping out, the residents and their families. So it's just about making that impact, that difference.
Yeah, it is. It is. I think the weirdest place I was ever recognized at was, believe it or not, in Las Vegas. Me and my friend went out to Las Vegas for a trip, and this is why I was the height of when I was working at Wild Country. And we were walking on the strip late at night. It was a Wednesday night when I should have been working. Probably, I should have been working, but I was on vacation. And someone just yelled out, "Hey, Big Sexy, why aren't you at Wild Country?" I'm like, what? My friend is just standing there going, "Really? Did this just happen?" So that's probably my weirdest, being noticed at. But it is, you just know you bring something to someone when they recognize you outside of what you do. So
absolutely. And I must say, Nolan Arenado just hit a 2-run home run
nice.
In the top of the 9th, I believe, for the Cardinals to give them a 2-0 lead by the looks of it. So yeah, it's always interesting getting to cut to breaking news in the middle of, a game like that. And Arenado's been on an absolute tear, one of the brightest spots in St. Louis sports. But yes, as far as with wrestling goes, Dynamo Pro, this Saturday at Concordia Turner's Gymnasium, and the bell time is at 8:00. Doors open at 7. You'll get to see Big Sexy right here, Chris Roedel. You'll get to see myself, the Maestro, Jeremy Karp, and you'll see some of the best wrestling in the Midwest. I mean, you're going to see Adrian Surge, Camaro Jackson, Mike Outlaw. You'll see the Snitch. As much crap as we give him and as much as it's kind of deserved, so he is a talented wrestler, and we will never say otherwise. You'll see Reign Victoria, the Spider, Blair Onyx. It's just going to be it's outstanding show, and I look forward to it.
I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to seeing you, seeing Luke, seeing everybody, and just getting back and doing our thing.
Oh, absolutely.
I feel like we got really good momentum going right now. So
yeah, I think things are finally starting to pick up, and and on top of that, one last big thought is that the shows we're doing, they're such big events. You're going to Soulard, you're going down to in St. Louis for the slams and jams, and and it gets all these other teams involved and fans. I remember the crowd for the first slams and jams event, absolutely packed. I remember
I was worried about if the roller derby fans would stick around for the wrestling portion of the show. I was also worried that would the wrestling fans come out to watch the roller derby, and it worked out perfectly. It was great. The atmosphere was great. 4 matches, and it felt like it took no time at all.
Yeah. So overall, I'm just looking forward to it. Well, Chris, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on, buddy.
I appreciate you for having me on. Sure we'll talk on the Wrestle Talk podcast here in the next couple of weeks or something. Family happens sometimes. Sometimes you get sick. That's why we have a good working relationship with the Wrestle Talk podcast. So
we really do.
And I think we work all well as a team. And we had some issues with a guest last night. Yeah. I was able to get things set up real quick and jump back on and.
I got one last before you go. I do this for every guest. I got one last question, and it's definitely a sincere one. So I would love to hear it, your thoughts on it. So, what would you, Chris Roedel, what would the biggest piece of advice you could give to someone who's really struggling right now, just to get through day by day?
Talk to if you're struggling, it's not a bad thing to talk to somebody. Just reach out to a friend, a pastor, or a counselor, or there's the suicide prevention hotline, and there's other crisis lines out there. Just talk to someone and know you're not alone. You're not alone in this. We've dealt for almost 2 years with this pandemic, and it's taken its mental health toll on a lot of people. I struggled with depression. Now I'm getting better because some of the stress has been off of me because my mom is in a safe place right now. So just talk to someone. Just know you're not going through it alone, and know someone will be there on the other end of the line to listen to you. So
absolutely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this was the voice of Dynamo Pro Wrestling, Chris Roedel, here on Roundabout Sports. You can check him out starting this Saturday night at the historic Concordia Turners Gymnasium for Dynamo Pro Wrestling, which will have the 2nd annual Keon Option Memorial Battle Royal, along with so many other amazing matches on the card. You do not want to miss it.
You don't want to miss it. DynamoProWrestling.BigCartel.com to get your tickets. Save yourself a couple of bucks.
Absolutely. Chris, I look forward to talking to you soon, buddy. You have a wonderful
night, I'll see you Saturday. Talk to you soon. All right.
See you Saturday. Have a good night. That was Chris Roedel, an amazing guy. Definitely one of the best ring announcers you could ever have the pleasure of listening to, and dedicated to his craft. I feel so bad that he has to deal with Dick Douglas and the Snitch on a constant basis. Poor soul. Well, folks, before we fully close it out, there's something I had told a friend of mine to tune in tonight, and there's a reason for that. So, a lot of my friends have been getting married lately, and I'm not going to lie, I'm happy for each and every one of them. All my friends getting married, engaged, Well, in 2 days, my friend Evan and his fiance, my friend Julia, are going to be getting married. and they've been together for, God, I've lost track of how many years now, but it's going to be such a wonderful occasion. And so, and that's them. And I'm so happy for the two of them. So, to Evan and Julia, I look forward to this Friday. Mazel tov to both of you. I can't wait to be there. I love you guys to death. This is just going to be a fantastic wedding. And yeah, it's just crazy to think about. I've known him since second grade, folks. So I've grown up with him, and now here he is coming up on his wedding day. So with all that said, that will about do it on Roundabout Sports. But as normal and as usual and as always, I must put up, because it is the right thing to do, the National Suicide Hotline for suicide prevention. And it's open 24/7, 365, 366 on a leap year. Chris had said when he was on that you are never alone. It's not always easy reaching out to someone, but it makes a world of difference. You're always loved out there. There's always someone that'll love you. There's always somebody that does. We were given this great gift of life, and it's not something that we should let go to waste. Like I said, the hotline is 1-800-273-8255. And just know that you're always loved and you're never alone. I'd like to thank Chris Roedel, the voice of Dynamo Pro Wrestling, for being on this week. And always remember, you can follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, at Interstate 70 Sports Media. You can find Roundabout Sports on Facebook at you can find Roundabout Sports on Facebook at Roundabout Sports. You can find me at JCarSportsFan1 on Twitter. Also, don't forget about our dear friends at Talking Dynasty. Tune in tomorrow night on Interstate 70 Sports Media. Be sure to tune in whenever we have our dear friend James Knox, our I-70 Sports Media Insider, on Knox's Corner. And we just have so much great content out there. You have Guy Bensing from the Blue Note Fan Report. We got the guys at the Wrestle Talk podcast, of which I'm happy to be a part of. So that's about all that we got this week, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Jeremy Karp, and remember, life is a book full of empty pages just waiting to be written in. Make your lives worth reading. This is Jeremy Karp saying God bless and good night.